Welcome, everybody, to Indiana Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Crew Sports Network. Indiana Basketball Weekly Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Get up to a 50% bonus, up to $1,000. So if you put in $2,000, you get $1,000 free play, which has got Risley interested in doing that. But I am your host for the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, or one of my co-hosts, 1981 national champion, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, I'm doing great today, Mike. Good to be here. And yes, I am going to put $2,000 into my bookie AG, and I'm going to expect another $1,000 out of that, and I'm just going to gamble away on baseball like an idiot.
Well,
I don't know nothing about
last
baseball.
night. They started the Major League Baseball season last night with the Mariners playing in Tokyo.
Oh, did they open last night?
Okay. Yeah, and the Sheridan Report, if you go there and click on that at the SheridanReport.com, you would have had the right bet. That was a plus 140, so if you'd have bet $1,000 on that, you'd made $1,400.
I'm not betting on the Sheridan Report. I have Bobby's personal cell phone number. Bobby's going to call me and tell me who to pick. I'm not relying on what he puts on the Internet.
It's the same thing when he writes it down. But
don't trust anything you put on the Internet.
All right, and also we have our Indiana basketball beat reporter from thegruelingcrew.net, Cole Hanna. How you doing, Cole?
Doing pretty good, guys. Weather kind of sucks here, but I'd say that's pretty good.
Is it raining there? Or?
Yeah, it's like 40 and rain here. It's just kind of nasty.
That means I'm probably going to get rain later tonight or tomorrow then, because where I live, when I left, it was like 50 degrees, 55 degrees, and sunny. It doesn't sound as impressive as Steve tells us about 75 and sunny, but it is what it is. Now, let's go ahead and talk.
Actually, it's been in the 80s here the last 3 days. It's like, your body doesn't get used to your body doesn't.
Nobody wants to hear about it.
All right, okay.
Your body doesn't get used to it. Whatever. All right, last night, the Indiana Hoosiers struggled in the first half, trailing by, 6 at the half. Came back to beat St.Francis, 89-72. Shot the ball really well in the second half, Cole. You want to go ahead and give us what stood out to you on the stat sheet?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it was really a tale of two halves, both offensively and defensively for IU. They shoot 40% from the field in the first half. Second half, they go up to 64%. Defensively, they allowed St. Francis to shoot 42% from the field in the first half. Obviously, 40 first-half points for them. Second half, that number drops to just 31%. I think for the most part, we kind of had concerns about how serious IU would take the tournament. And in that first half, the returns and that were not exactly promising. But, when they came out of that halftime break, it sounds like Archie really got into them. They responded well. They played like the team we knew they could play like. Obviously, big games from Juwan Morgan and Al Durham. They combined for 50 points in this one. And another big thing IU was able to do well, they didn't do well against Ohio State, but they kept the turnovers down. Again, in this game, just 7 turnovers in the game, and that really helped them out.
Yeah, how many of those were in the second half, do you know, Cole, compared to the first half?
This stat sheet doesn't break it down by half. I probably only two or three of those were probably second half turnovers, I would guess, though.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me, because I watched the game on my computer while I was here at Dayton for the first 4, and the thing that struck me, Steve, was just how disinterested Indiana looked in the first half.
It was amazing. I don't get the chemical makeup of this basketball team. I can't fault them. It's a different age than when I played, but yeah, they look. I texted you. I said, we're in trouble. We're going to get beat here. We're down. We're getting outplayed. And something happened in the locker room at halftime. And Cole, maybe you'll address this here in a minute when we talk about it, about the press conference and what Archie had to say at the press conference afterwards. But we shoot 40% in the first half field goals, and we come out in the second half and shoot 63%. So somebody, I think, finally found a way to light a fire under these guys and tell them about playing for pride or things like that. I don't know, Cole. What do you think happened at halftime?
Yeah, well, someone asked Archie, what did you say to the team at halftime? His response is basically just a lot of stuff I can't say right now in the press conference. So, it sounds like Archie lit into him. They definitely responded. It's worrying that, Archie had to light into him and get them, ready to play. I think part of it was, getting Juwan Morgan back in there. I know he missed long stretches of that first half with 2 fouls. When that happened, I just felt like the team was really settling for long contested threes. They had a massive advantage against this team on the inside. And when Juwan Morgan went out, that advantage pretty much, we didn't push that advantage at all. IU outscored them in the paint 56-18, just to hammer home that point as far as what we did on the inside.
Mike, you're a coach. Is this just a soft-hearted basketball team? Because when you said it was concerning that he had to light a fire, I thought it was encouraging that he lit a fire. Now, see, I took it.
I don't think he had to light a fire. I don't think he had to light a fire. So? I think this.
Okay.
I think their hopes were crushed. They were one win away from the NCAA tournament, and it takes a while to recover from that. And you show up against St. Francis, and I don't think you expect anything but a bad first half. I think the thing that is encouraging is I think that when you got through that half, I don't know that Archie had to say anything other than, it is what it is. You got to go out and you got to play, or you're going to lose to St. Francis. You're going to give St. Francis maybe the biggest win in their basketball history. So while this may not seem like a big deal, you're still playing to win a tournament, and I think those guys at halftime, I'd imagine they probably figured this out themselves, that they didn't want to go out this way. And I just think that when you are in a situation where you have to play in the NIT, I think it takes a while to get adjusted to that. The good thing is they got adjusted quickly enough that it didn't cost them. They still won the game going away. So in the end, it's a positive. Now they'll play Arkansas, and the great thing about that is you have a reason to beat Arkansas because Arkansas beat you early in the season in a controversially officiated game. So now I think this team is fine. I think what we will see now is a team with the ability to win this tournament.
Oh, okay. Well, let me backtrack just a little bit with you because again, you're a very successful coach. Why is this happening now? And if they'd have done this halfway through the 11-12 loss season and figured this out then, we wouldn't be in the NIT. We'd be dancing tomorrow or Friday. And how did this – I think Archie had something to do with this. I think he's finally just been fed up.
I think this, Steve.
I don't know, Mike. You tell me as a coach.
I think the Wisconsin game, I think, is when you flip the switch in this team. They played poorly against Ohio State. The first half they played poorly. But I think the switch was flipped probably around the Wisconsin game, maybe a week or two or a game or two before, because we were saying they were playing well. They just weren't getting the production that they needed from it. So I think that kicked in. I think they've played well as of late. But I still think it is hard. And you told me, you posted about the 1979 NIT. But you told me off air, you guys were pissed about having to go to that tournament. And if I remember right, you guys played Texas Tech in the first round of that tournament. Mm-hmm. And in the first half, you guys did not play well. But from that
we had to go to Texas Tech. Yeah, we went to Texas Tech. We didn't play at home.
Either way, what I'm saying is you guys struggled. I think you guys were down like 10 points, if I remember. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems to me like you guys were behind at the half. And then you guys probably just decided by sitting there looking at each other, you didn't want it to end like this.
Well, I think what we really decided is we didn't want the plane ride home night if we lost. But no, you're right. I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, at some point the heart steps up, and it seems what this team, Cole or Mike, either one, has this team finally found some heart in itself?
Cole?
So I think for the most part they've probably had that the last 5 or 6 games. Outside the Ohio State game was kind of the outlier there. But, I think they've been playing with some heart for the first, obviously over that 4-game win streak they've had.
Cole,
so I would say yes.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Ohio State, I don't think was an outlier because when I watched that game, I never took that as them not playing with heart. They just played stupid. So they lost that game because they did not play smart. So I don't think the heart thing has been a question for 7 or 8 games. The problem is this. You still have to play smart no matter how much heart you play with. And last night, they played a St. Francis team in the first half that was playing with heart. They played as hard as they could, and Indiana was sleepwalking. And then in the second half, they kicked it in. They won the game. It's kind of what I expected to happen when we watched that first half, because the other thing about that first half is Indiana controlled over half of that first half, and St. Francis kind of caught them at the end. And I think that kind of woke Indiana up, and that this is what we need to do to be able to win this game, because this team feels a lot differently about this game than we do.
Okay, so, Mike, let me backtrack a little bit here to the Ohio State game, because I was not able to be on the last show we did due to some other responsibilities. The team's down with what, Cole? About 7 minutes to go in the game. We're down 20. Is that about somewhere in the vicinity? I'm not exactly sure. I know.
Roughly.
Yeah. So
Roughly, yeah.
It was inside of 10 minutes.
Inside of 10 minutes. It was inside of 10 minutes. The team brings them back to 2 points. Okay? So Ohio State, and Ohio State's a flip game for us. If we beat Ohio State, we're probably dancing. Barring any more upsets happening in conference championship play to get automatic bids, and then you've got to backfill a large bids. But if we beat Ohio State, we're probably dancing. So the team brings us back to 2 points on their own heart. Now, at what point do you expect your coach to step up and say, I'm going to get you the next 5 points or 3 points to win this game for you as a coach? Because I think in Ohio State, Mike, I think we got out-coached.
The team played stupid. Holtman is a really good coach, and by saying Holtman out-coached us doesn't mean that Holtman's a better coach than Miller. It means he had a better plan in that game.
No, not at all.
And they won that game. When you look at it, I mean, we had a player that got a little selfish, I think, and it's hard to get mad at him because he, hits like 10 out of 13 shots and scores 26 points. But we had a critical.
You're talking about 11?
Devontae Green. I mean, the thing that stood out to me was getting the game back to 5 with about 2.5 minutes left. We get the ball back, and he just inadvertently throws it to an Ohio State player. Now, I think I don't know if it's selfish or he's just trying so hard to make things happen. And in that game, it was him and one other guy that were doing everything. So I don't know if he just felt like he had to force things or not. But, I mean, when you look at it, this Indiana team has not played smart all year. They're at least playing with heart now. And in the end, if they come out and they can beat an Arkansas team that beat them early in the year and they can make a run here, I think it only improves their chances for success next year. I know I'm one of these guys that hates the NIT because I do. I don't see a reason to play consolation tournaments. I don't like participation awards. I think this is just an extra way for the NCAA to make a little bit of money. But in the end, it's a couple more weeks of practice if you can get to New York, and it lets these guys have a better chance to mesh. And with Devontae Green, I think it's fair to say, I think Devontae Green is playing for whether he's even here next year or not, Cole.
Yeah, I think Devontae Green's done a really good job, I think, especially not just the Ohio State game, but really, the few games before that for the most part, he's always struggled with consistency and turnovers, and he's done a much better job of late keeping that stuff under control. Really, he's been their most effective offensive player for long stretches of, the end of this season. So, obviously, I know he struggled from the field today, last night, was 4 of 13. Did have 2 turnovers, but 6 assists. To me, that was one of the only guys I thought in that first half that you could tell was out there putting forth a little bit of effort. You could tell, he had some heart there in that first half. And then, obviously, he got some help in that front from the team in the second half.
Okay,
so I would think, Steve, it brings me to a question for you.
Okay.
You talked about Texas Tech, how you guys were mad to be in the NIT. But once you got that first win and you get into it, does that change things?
Of course, yeah. But definitely, because then you move on and you're going back home. Did we play our second game at home in the NIT?
I think you played the second. I think you played the second and the third games at home. I'm not 100%
home.
sure.
Yeah. So you're coming back home. Of course it does. I mean, you get over the hump, and then you get into the realm of now you're in the tournament, and you know that, Mike. You're a coach, and now it's like, okay, I'm in it. I'm going to win it. So I'm in it to win it now because I'm in it. The first game, if I lose and go home, I told you, when we went to Dayton in 1981 to play Maryland, I packed for spring break. My best friend was going to college at Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio. And I got him my comp tickets, and he went to the game, and I packed everything in a separate bag and I wasn't even going to go home with the team. I'm like, I'm a senior. What are they going to do to me? I'm taking off with him and going to spring break. And I'm thinking, because Maryland's got, Albert King, Buck Williams, they got a great basketball team. They've been ranked all year. I think they're going to kill us. And we blew them out. And I'm like, I had to throw the bag away or hide it somewhere so nobody saw it. But then it's like, okay, now we're in this thing to win it. So, yeah, I think this is a game changer for IU. I think this is what this team needed to do, is win a tough game. They had to come back from adversity again in the first half. They were down 6. They looked like crap. Mike, you and I were texting each other. It's like, oh, my God, we're going to get blown out here. And it's just remember I said just end this thing now and get the season over with and be done with it. But they fought back. So I think this team is ready to go now.
All right, now let's go ahead and look forward to the second-round game, which will be at Indiana against Arkansas.
Can I ask one question before we move on to Arkansas? Let's talk about Romeo Langford. Let's bring that thing on the table. Cole, is he hurt?
Yeah.
Is he done playing, or what's going on?
Yeah, well, Archie addressed that in the press conference. I do think he's hurt. Archie made the statement that, this wasn't an NIT thing, that if they had to play the first game in the NCAA tournament tonight or last night, Romeo would not have played in that either, that his back is bothering him. He tweaked that and early on in the Ohio State game, and just, he hasn't really been able to get that right since. So that'll be something to watch for Arkansas. Archie didn't sound too optimistic that, Romeo will be able to get back for this one, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that.
Okay, Mike, who's the most important player on this basketball team right now? I have my opinion.
What do you mean by most important? You mean to be able to win this tournament, or just in general?
To make a difference in this team moving forward.
Juwan Morgan. If he stays out of foul trouble, he's good enough to take them and win this tournament. I mean, Devontae Green's a big deal. Rob Fennessy's a big deal. But right now, I think from watching the second half, Juwan Morgan's the type of guy that he's one of those guys that can put the rest of the team on his back and carry him across the finish line.
Okay, and I think it's Devontae Green, and here's why. Devontae's coming back next year, and now
you're talking about this tournament, though.
Right, but I'm talking about this tournament, yes, in building a culture for this basketball team, using this tournament, like I said, and I put it on Twitter, I put it on Facebook, I put it on everywhere. In 1979, we hated going to the NIT, but, we got in the mindset of, we're going to go, let's go win it. We won it. We learned how to win a tournament. We learned from that thing. We then, 24 months later, hung a banner number 4. Because we had learned.
Let me ask you a question,
we had Isaiah. We had Isaiah. Yes, I know.
Yeah,
we had Isaiah.
Let me ask you a question.
The world.
You had Isaiah, but another guy you had was Mike Woodson. Was Mike Woodson?
We didn't have an 81.
79 and 80. I know, but was he a leader in 79 and 80?
Yeah. Well, when he wasn't hurt, he was out half the season both seasons.
But he was probably the main leader on the floor in 1980, correct?
Sure.
All right, now this is my point. Hold on.
Okay.
I believe this. I believe Isaiah Thomas was a born leader, but I think guys like Mike Woodson, another guy that stands out to me is Juwan Morgan. I think that other guys can learn how to be that way by him instilling that in them. I think Juwan Morgan, if he puts his team on his back and takes them unselfishly and wins, maybe Devontae Green learns something from that. Maybe Rob Fennessy learns something from that. Maybe all of these guys do. So I think when you look at that 79 team, that complete team was not back in 81. But you even said yourself, we wanted to get Woody a ring. And, for whatever reason, they wouldn't let him have a ring because he wasn't on the team in 81. But you still felt the effect from Mike Woodson the next year. And that's why I think Juwan Morgan is so important, because right now it is important for next year that Devontae Green, Rob Fennessy, and all can do this. But I think there is a lot to be said for senior leadership, which a lot of teams don't have anymore. And these guys can kind of learn. Devontae Green can see how Juwan Morgan puts this team on his back to lead them. Because right now, when Devontae Green tries to put the team on his back, he usually makes a mistake because he forces things. When you watch Juwan Morgan impose his will on a game, he doesn't look like he's forcing it.
Very fair. And I heard the announcers at the game make a comment that if somehow Indiana could get Devontae Green to be an every game player, he would be one of the best players in the Big Ten.
And I think he's becoming that, though, because the last 7 games he's played well. So I think to win this tournament, I think it's Juwan Morgan, and I think for next year it's Rob Fennessy, because in the end, no matter how good Devontae is, we saw when Rob Fennessy is on and leading this team and he's playing well, this team can beat anybody, because they did. So I think all these guys are hugely important if you want to be a team that can compete to get into not just the NCAA tournament next year, but to get into the second week of the NCAA tournament, because just Devontae Green playing great is not going to do it. You need Fennessy. And I'll tell you, the guy I would really like to see hit a shot at some point is Anderson, Cole, because I think if we could get Anderson some confidence over the second, third, and maybe going to Madison Square Garden, I think that you could see a huge change in his game next year, because right now my worry is this continues like this through the rest of the NIT, and then when you get to next year, you know, you've got the same thing, a lack of confidence, and we're hoping that at some point he makes a shot.
No, yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, Demezi Anderson needs to hit a shot. I mean, he got a few open looks in that game, couldn't knock him down. I mean, you can just tell the confidence is not there, not only offensively but defensively. He's just, you know, you can tell it's not there. I mean, that guy needs an OB. He kind of reminds me of Evan Fitzner earlier in the year, when you could see Fitzner couldn't hit a shot. He was on the court, and he was just kind of, you know, when he shot it, it doesn't look like he knows it's going in. He's just hoping. You know, there's not that confidence there at the shot right now.
All right, so Cole, let me ask you a question. Juwan Morgan.
Yeah.
And Mike, weigh in, again, is a great coach. Is Juwan Morgan leading now because he's statistically doing great? I mean, he was 10 for 13. Looking at the stats right now. Free throws, 8 for 11, 28 points, 8 total rebounds. So are we looking at him now just because he's statistically putting numbers on the board, or do we think he's the voice of this basketball team right now?
I think it's the voice of the basketball team right now.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Mike.
Fair. All right.
I mean, what I saw from him in the second half, though, Steve, that was encouraging was, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I thought that first half when Juwan went out, you know, this team started to settle for open threes. You know, they're not a good three-point shooting team, and it didn't help us offensively. Juwan gets in there in the second half, and he demanded the ball on the inside almost every possession. I mean, that's what you need from your leader. You know you have an advantage on the inside. And it's something, you know, people have been critical of Romeo for being a little bit too passive at times. To me, that was a big thing from Juwan, was to go inside. You know we have the size advantage on this team, pound the ball on the inside and get the offense working that way.
Mike, still 56% free throw shooting. How important is that? I mean, still, we're going to lose games. That's free throw.
Well, I can tell you this, Steve. If they continue to shoot like 56% from the field, though, they'll probably survive it. But, yeah, in the end, you got to be able to shoot it better. But I think this is one of the few games in the last 7 where we look at it and say the free throw shooting was an issue. So I would also say this. I would like to see the first half, second half breakdown on the free throws also, because I think the problem you had was a disinterested team, and especially in the first half, which leads to lack of concentration, which leads to free throws.
Okay, yeah, I got you here, Mike.
28.6% first half, 68% second half. Yeah, it's a
so it's lack of concentration.
Yeah, lack of concentration. Yeah, which does that fall back on coaching again? I like Archie Miller. Archie Miller is the future of this program. I'm not bashing Archie Miller.
Steve, I don't think that has any bearing here, because I think any school – I mean, I remember Kentucky losing to Robert Morris in the first round of the NIT a few years back. And the thing is, it's just kind of natural instinct when you have a letdown like that and you're playing in something that was never something you wanted to play in. I think it's natural to have that letdown. I think that we would have more of a conversation about this if the second half would have continued like the first half.
Okay, so, Mike, you're close to my age. You're 10 years younger than me, I think, and a lot better looking, no doubt.
No doubt there.
No doubt there. Didn't you just want to go out and play? Did it matter to you where you played and who you played?
All right,
but you just
Steve, I
wanted
can
to
tell you
play.
this.
You keep bringing. Well, can I finish? Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, because I know where you're going. So.
Yeah. Well, because it's like I don't care. Because like I said on Facebook and Twitter and everything, say 66% of the teams right now, because I think there's 68 teams in the NCAA, 32 teams in the NIT. Everybody else is packing their locker rooms up and going home. They're done. And Indiana is still playing. Doesn't that count for anything and make you just like, I'm still putting my uniform on and getting dressed and getting taped, smell the popcorn, and do everything? Does that not just matter, or does it have to be, if I'm not driving a Cadillac, I'm driving a Tahoe, I'm not as cool?
Well, let me put it this way. You played the NIT final and the NCAA final. Were you as jacked up for the NIT final as the NCAA?
I think at the time, yes, but no, of course not. In the results, now,
okay,
in my life right now, no. I say no. Yeah.
Here's the other thing.
At the time,
if this is the thing, if it's 1989 and you put me on a playground in Indiana, I'm going to want to win that game as bad as possible. You put me on the Indiana Hoosiers and I'm playing in the NIT, it's consolation. I don't like consolation games. This is a story. This last year, my son's team played for a NHFA national championship, and we're playing before we played a semifinal. I tell my sons, I tell them, well, if we lose, we still got to play Saturday. And they both looked at me and said, we're not playing. What the hell is the point? We came here to accomplish a goal. That goal can no longer be accomplished. So the point of the matter is this. Yeah, you want to win anytime you get on a court. But when your main goal has been taken away and you're playing for a secondary goal, I think that's an issue. Now, I think the farther along you get in the tournament, you get to a Final Four in Madison Square Garden, I think it changes a little bit, but it's still not the NCAA championship. They're still going to play hard, but it's not like you're playing in Minneapolis. There's a huge difference there. So, yeah, as a competitive person, you want to win no matter what, but it's still the fact that it's consolation. If you win, you're the 69th best team in the country.
Okay, so great point. And, Cole, you're probably too young to be able to answer this. Mike, you've lived this as I have. We keep talking back about how things were in the 70s and 80s, and this was a big problem with the fan base on Twitter, on Facebook, on everybody, wanting to say, this program has degraded itself to hell and everything. And we have to understand, first off, that Bob Knight is one of maybe the greatest basketball coach of all time, legitimate, serious basketball coach who didn't cheat to win and won with the right way. And we keep going back to that. Are we silly to keep thinking that things that happened in the 70s and 80s, should Indiana be so despondent about playing in the NIT right now based on the last 20 years of their record?
I think this, unless you're a St.Francis or a really small program, the fact that 68 schools get in now, yeah, you probably should. And I can tell you this. I lived through the 79. I was 10 years younger than you, so I was like 4th or 5th grade. But that game was exciting to me because Indiana was playing Purdue. It wasn't because it was the NIT championship game. That game was big in Indiana because it was Indiana playing Purdue. It was at Madison Square Garden. I don't remember when the game was over thinking, oh, we won the NIT. I remember thinking, we beat Purdue. So I called my buddy up the street who's a Purdue fan and made fun of him. I don't remember once saying we're NIT champions. I just remember saying Indiana beat Purdue.
Right. Okay,
so, and the
Cole?
Thing is this. When you go to the Bobby Knight thing, it's not going to be like that anymore. And my question to you is this. When you played Alcorn State in the second round, was the place packed?
I would assume it was, yes. Yeah, I'm assuming it's sold out. Of course it was,
okay.
Yeah.
Because I am seeing here it seats, 17,000?
Yeah.
I'm seeing the sold tickets at 12,000.
Okay. See, again, as a player, you don't really pay a lot of attention to that as a player. I mean,
what was the crowd last night, Cole?
We talked about that before you came on, Mike.
Yeah, 5,400 was the crowd.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
5,400 is Probably the most
point well taken.
Francis played in front of this year.
Yeah.
St. Francis Stadium, I think, only seats like 3,000. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would have been an overflow crowd. So, when you look at it, Steve, I mean, the other thing is this. I just don't – there's no way to paint this in a good way because there's no good way to paint it. I mean, this is Indiana. They should not be in the NIT. This is about more than Archie Miller, why they are. And Indiana fans need to realize that because, as you said, Bob Knight's no longer here. We don't know what Archie Miller battles against, but all I know is this. Archie Miller at Dayton was highly successful. I have no reason to think that he won't be here. And if he's not, he'll go somewhere else and be highly successful is my bet. Mm-hmm. And if that happens again, like, it has with so many other guys that have left here, or at least with Kelvin Sampson, then it makes you have to question what exactly is going on here. But right now, to compare this to, Bob Knight is just unfair because it's nowhere near that anymore.
Well, and my point was I'm trying to uncompare it. That's what I'm trying to do is people, I think.
Yeah, and I'm trying to let people know that you can't compare it.
Right, you can't. Right, I agree with you 100% there. I'm trying to uncompare it. There's no comparison to what happened with Knight and what's happening with the program today. So I just asked you the question of, like, we were heart-struck to have to go play in the NIT in 79 when Bird and Johnson were going at it and we couldn't go after them. But today, I think that mentality is completely different. That's a different culture. But let's drop that. Cole, what do we have? Arkansas, what do we got here, baby? We got beat by them on, what do we got looking forward to Saturday at 12 o'clock on ESPN Eastern Time?
Yeah, so, I mean, like you said, it's obviously a team IU is going to have a little bit of a revenge factor in mind. Arkansas got them in the first meeting early on the season. That was IU's first loss of the year. Big thing to look at, though, when you look back at that game, is what killed them was Daniel Gafford, who went off for 27 and 12. He will not be in this matchup. He's already declared for the draft, and he will be sitting out the entire NIT tournament for Arkansas. But, they still have some good players. They took it to Providence last night, really kind of ran them off their own home floor. They got a couple players. Isaiah Joe's a really good freshman guard for them. He's a 40+% three-point shooter, averaging about 14 points per game on the year. They got some really good production off their bench last night. I believe they had about 41 points of their 84 came from their bench. A lot of bench production. So, it's a tough team to get a read on because you don't really have a lot. How are they going to play without Daniel Gafford in the inside? Really, Providence was the first game. You got to look at that, and obviously the returns for that were pretty strong.
Well, the thing I look at here, the thing I look at this game, the difference in Indiana and Arkansas was one simple fact, and the simple fact is Juwan Morgan got in foul trouble. He only played 23 minutes, and in those 23 minutes, he had 15 points, but he also had the 4 personal fouls. So I think with Juwan Morgan, if he stays out of foul trouble, Indiana should win this game.
My question would be for both you guys, is this a team that we played another sloppy first half like we did against St. Francis? Will we have the ability to recover? Because they're far more athletic than St. Francis was. And they're more powerful.
We'll be down by 15 or 20 points if we play like that in the first half. But I think the fact that it's Arkansas gets their attention.
Cole?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Mike. I mean, they play like they did in that first half. Like Mike said, they'll be down a lot more than 6. So I guess it depends, how is the team going to come out? Is it relative to Arkansas or is it exactly how they came out against St. Francis? I think like Mike said, IU's the better team here. I don't think there's a question about that. If they come out focused, IU should be able to take care of their business here. But, they have the revenge factor. But Arkansas, like you said, they're a much better team than St. Francis. You can't come out the way you did against St. Francis or they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I think this is a good test, Steve, because if you look at Arkansas, the thing that killed them is they lost, they were kind of like IU. I mean, they had a point in the season where they went, I think, 4-13, something like that, which killed their season. But over the last 5 games or 4 games, they've played a lot better. 5 games counting the Providence game. They lost to Florida, similar to the way Indiana lost to Ohio State. They lost 66-50. They didn't play very smart. Before that, though, they beat Bama. They beat Vanderbilt pretty easy. They beat Ole Miss. They lost a really tight game to Kentucky at Kentucky, where they had to lead a lot of that game. So I think this is a team that has played better also. But this is a game where if Indiana shows up to play, I think Indiana should win this game by double digits.
Fair. Cole, any comments? No?
Yeah, no,
all right,
I agree with Mike.
All right, well, my next question, and I know, Mike, you got to go have dinner with Reggie Miller, so I know we're keeping you on the air. Yeah, I know we're keeping you on the air longer than you want to be. You got to go vegan, your vegan dinner with Reggie, so we're going to get you off the air.
He hasn't walked by yet, so if he walks by yet,
I know that's when the show will end. The minute he walks by, I know that's when the show will end. Is when he walks by.
Yeah.
Cole and Mike both. Does Indiana have a legitimate pathway to Madison Square Garden? Are we hoping that they get there?
No, they do. They're better than Arkansas. I mean, they're better than who would they play in the Elite Eight?
Clemson. Is it Clemson? I think they play next or something like that.
Clemson played well. In their bracket,
Yeah, they're better than Clemson. So why wouldn't they be in the Final Four?
All right. I just asked the question.
The Final Four is just according to who you get there. You get Xavier and Texas are playing. Xavier would be a team that I think is a bad matchup. It's not because I like Xavier. It's just Xavier is very physical, very aggressive, and they've got a big man underneath that I think could probably cause Juwan Morgan some foul trouble. On the other side, I think that UNC Greensboro team is very good. I think they're dangerous. I don't think the field is strong, but I think the top 8 to 10 teams in it are really strong. So if IU plays the way IU can, I expect to see him in Madison Square Garden.
And Steve, to answer your question.
Go ahead, Cole.
To answer your question here, Steve, Clemson's the 2 seed. Clemson will play the winner of Furman and Wichita State tonight. So, just as far as their path to the Final Four, that's what you're looking at there.
Where's the Furman-Wichita State game at? Is that at Furman?
It's at Furman, yeah.
Yeah, so don't be surprised if Furman is the team coming here in the quarterfinals either.
And Furman's they're not easy to beat. That's a team.
They're a good team. I mean, they handled
no reason to lose. They have no fear. They're coming into something.
The other thing is
teams like that have no fear. That's the most dangerous team in tournaments.
And they've beat good teams. And I mean, when you look at it, Furman beat Villanova earlier this year.
They did.
And right
I did not know that.
So Grant Hill is like 5 feet away from me. So there you go.
Hey, tell him I actually have one of his shoes signed by him that was given to me by my son had the Grant Hill furniture collection and had a whole dozen. Tell him that. yeah. Ask him. Tell him. Hey, my idiot partner on our show had the ask him about the Grant Hill furniture collection. I swear to God, please do. And I want to hear your feedback on that.
Maybe he's on a Duke show. He had Jimmy Jackson.
He's on which probably give you more listens than we are. All right.
I doubt it.
So we're going to go Saturday post game. We play at 12 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. We'll be back on live at post game
sometime between Saturday and Monday. We will. The NCAA tournament's on. I want to watch the game.
I know. It's the greatest 4 days of sports in the United States. No doubt it is.
All right. Well, guys, I got to go, so we're going to wrap it up. Cole, any final words? No? All right, Steve, no?
Right, Reggie must have walked in. Reggie's walked in. He's going to go have dinner with Reggie.
He's not even doing the game tonight, but he's here, so I'm going to go hang out. But, all right, I'm going to get off here, guys. We're going to sign off. I want to remind everybody we'll be back after Indiana's second-round game against Arkansas at some point this weekend. I want to thank Steve and Cole for coming on. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Cole Hanna, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.